Welcome to another episode of HF Conversations. Hope that you've been enjoying these videos. We're I think 6 or 7 in now.
It's quite a bit.
Yeah, we're doing it. So you can watch them on YouTube. You can listen to them on Apple Podcast or Google Play or wherever you podcast listen from. They're there.
Plenty of places.
There's a lot of places.
To find it.
We're trying to, we're just putting it out everywhere we can. So today, I'm really excited because my good friend and desk mate, JR Linkous, is here.
Yes.
And JR is our, what's your title?
Well, it changes a lot.
Right.
So,
What do you want it to be?
I don't know. Storyteller.
Yeah.
That's what I do the bulk of.
JR makes all of our video content, so all the things you see on Sundays, videos for sermons, testimony videos, all that kind of stuff, all those elements. JR creates all that.
It's fun.
It's a cool job.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
So JR and I sit beside each other, and it's so quiet every day. That's not true. It's a lot. There's a lot of talking, but it's super fun. And so what we want to talk about today really is just a conversation about creativity and growth. And we live in this Instagram culture in this world where you just post something and then you're famous. And even people that do that, you don't see all the work that it takes to actually get to that place, right? So even there are people who seem to become an overnight success, but really that's not really true. They've experienced a lot of things that lead them to that point. And so what we want to do is really just have a conversation about our experiences over the last few years and really just growing up with technology and how that shaped our faith and how we share that publicly and then what it looks like to make bad art and then get better at
I'm a
every
pro
time.
at that, for sure.
So,
bad art is my specialty.
Maybe just talk a little bit about your kind of experiences and what has brought you to this place.
Sure. Well, I got into this just kind of randomly. It wasn't something that I was really pursuing.
Yeah.
Just started serving in student ministries, and I like to make funny things with Photoshop, and that's kind of how it all started. Yeah. Somebody, that was in student ministries asked me to design a few things, and it was terrible what I made. It was like photoshopping somebody's head on someone else's body.
Right.
But yeah, that's kind of how it started, and I enjoyed it. It wasn't something I didn't get paid for years.
Yeah.
I mean, it was literally years, and never thought that it would be something that somebody would really be paying me for. Would be anything, any videos or any, Photoshop graphic design work, but it just kind of happened.
Yeah, so you hit on two things. One is that you didn't get paid for a long time, which I think a lot of people are like, oh, I have a YouTube channel, so now you should pay me.
Okay, exactly.
But you don't, and there's a difference between being excited about doing something and having experience in doing something, and so and sometimes that's hard to see on the front end because you're excited about something and you want to do it. I look back at some of the things that I made 10 or 15 years ago, and I'm like, oh man, that was awful, but it was the best thing I could do at the time.
Yeah,
but if
absolutely.
I didn't make that thing, then I couldn't make the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, and to get to where I am today, which is not by any means arriving, but it's better than it was. But the only way you do that is through. And so, maybe let's just talk a little bit about that, the time that it takes to work through that and how you cannot become discouraged when it's not perfect.
Well, you got to produce a lot of terrible things, in the beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a firm believer in that. And I think that there's still times today that I produce things that I'm not completely satisfied or happy with. But it's that process, I think, that gets you to where you are making things that, to me, this is where I think we're at right now with creativity and artists. And I think there's so many things out there that are produced so well, nothing really stands out. And I've always asked myself, why is this not moving me? Why is it not, something that I'm drawn to? It looks really great. It's produced really well, and I think it's heart. I think a lot of things go back to heart. Think about social media and stuff that we share, stuff that we it moves us to click that share button.
Yeah,
it either moves us emotionally in some way. It makes us laugh, or it makes us angry.
Yeah.
It makes us sad. and we share it because we want other people to experience that. And most of the things that I share aren't produced really well.
Yeah.
Like they're terrible in a sense as far as how they.
It's like a cell phone.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. But it has the heart.
Yeah.
It has that heart element, and so I think that we've been, consumed with all these designs and these elements that are so well done that they don't really stand out because they lack the heart.
It's like quality is now overwhelming.
Yes.
And underwhelming at the same time.
Yes.
Like if everything's good, then nothing's good.
That's it.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And when we were growing up, you're a little bit older than I am, but I remember when I had a DV camera with or a VHS camera.
Yeah.
I remember my first digital camera, and now you could be 12 or 13 years old and have some nice Sony A series camera.
Just your phone.
Or just your phone. Yeah. You have an iPhone, whatever.
Absolutely.
An iPhone 4 is an incredible camera compared to what we had 10 years ago.
Yeah, no doubt.
But story is still the most important thing, and I think that's really, if we're talking about Highlands especially, that's really what your job is to make sure that we are telling good stories.
Absolutely.
Make sure that we're putting that in front of people, and we want quality to be good. We want it to be a great thing, but ultimately, the story has to be king.
Yeah.
And that's always going to be true. Andy Stanley talks about this idea, and he calls it uniquely better. And so he says you can be first to market, right? So if you're the innovation of that, then you're better than everybody else.
Yeah,
the first people that made a jump to high definition, right? Like a church or an organization, oh my gosh, this is incredible, game changer. But now everyone's there. So now you have to do something that's unique to be better. And
Absolutely.
Sometimes that means upping your production value, but sometimes that just means finding the heart of that story and telling a better story with your cell phone, because like you said, what do people share on Facebook? Videos that people take on their phones of kids, of dogs, of, animals doing hilarious things.
Terrible.
Yeah.
But it moves you.
But it's that moment, right?
Yeah.
It's capturing that moment. And so that's, I think that's so huge. And I think another thing that you said is that you make a lot of terrible stuff and then you keep putting it out there.
Yeah.
You put it in front of people. Seth Godin, who is an author, blogger, podcaster, I think he's written a blog post every day for 10 years. It's unbelievable, right? He just keeps putting out content. And so his quote is that real artists ship, right? They actually put the thing in the box and send it out. Or in our case, maybe they upload it digitally and share it with people. Or they write that post, they put out the ebook, they do something instead of just sitting back and saying, I'm sort of internally, I'm the greatest artist ever.
And you're waiting on the perfection.
And I'll wait till it comes. And, one of my goals in the last 2 years, really, as I see all of this negativity in culture, right? Online has become a really sort of tumultuous place.
It's terrible.
And that's because we get to hide behind critiquing other people. Right,
Sure.
So it's I don't like this idea, I don't like this person, I don't like this movie. We rip apart these Hollywood movies we could do better than that.
Sure.
But that's because we're not actually putting ourselves out there.
Yeah.
And so my goal was, I'm going to put content into the world. I'm going to put my voice into the world. And when you do that, you're so much less likely to just criticize people because you realize how vulnerable it is to share anything.
For sure. It's terrifying.
Yeah.
It really is. It's terrifying. And I agree. If you're an artist, if you're creative, if you're wanting to get in that area of ministry, just create it and just make it happen and put it out there, even if it's not perfect. And that's one of the things that consumes my time, right? Yeah. You can sit and you can stare at a computer or you can stare at a blank page of paper and nothing's happening, right? Yeah. And you can just wait for that perfection.
Yeah.
And most of the time you waste that time.
Yeah.
And so just make it happen, and if it's bad, it's bad. And that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah, it's if you put out a bad idea, then that one's gone, and then you can get a new idea.
Absolutely.
You just keep kind of loading your brain with new ideas, and if you push those out of the way and put them into the world, then you can see what happens.
I think it's perfect that I'm here and we're talking about how it's okay to put bad ideas out there, because it really that's who I am. I'm not the most creative. I'm not the most artistic person on the planet. I'm just somebody that really has just had that drive
Yeah.
to just jump into it and do and create and I don't consider myself. I'm like right at the line of artist and not being an artist is where I consider myself
Between
to be.
artist and Google.
Yeah, that's another thing.
Yeah.
Google Google, Pinterest.
Yeah.
All of these things they're great, but they really have hurt. I think in a sense creativity and people coming up with original ideas, and I hate that.
Yeah.
I really do. I would love to see. People that's trying to come up with an idea for their kid's birthday party, just brainstorm, spend the time to try and create something new instead of going with what's easy.
Well, because we want it to be like perfect, right?
Yeah.
It's like, well, I can't just throw like my kid loves dinosaurs and I can't just put dinosaurs on his cake because I got to build like Jurassic Park in my backyard. It's like, your son will love dinosaurs regardless, probably, And so, we want to make better things. We want to always, up our quality. But at the end of the day, we really just want to share content because quality is not what speaks to people. Story is, it's that connecting thing. It's that human element inside of those creations that you look at a painting and you connect with it, not because you're like, oh, I see the brush stroke that he used there. Oh, I see, I love how he color correct, right?
Yeah.
Like Blade Runner 2049 is an awesome movie because it looks and feels that way. But that's not the only thing that makes it good, right? Like it actually matches the story and it matches what you're doing. So I think it's important to obviously make things the best you can, but we want to be people who put stuff out there. And really, when it comes to being a follower of Jesus and like sharing your faith and sharing your life with other people, that's so much of that is just putting yourself out there, right? It's like going first and sharing what God's done in your life and what He means to you,
Absolutely.
And you can do that through art, you can do that through technology, you can do that through anything, Being creative is not just about making videos or graphics, it's about putting yourself in your work.
One of my favorite things is my daughter, she's getting into this phase where she just draws, comes up with just, random ideas, random things, some funny, some really heartfelt, and I love all of it. Is it good? Is it like is it like the greatest piece of art I've ever seen? No, but it has a heart behind it. And I really do cherish those things. And it's funny how we lose that. That the imagination and the she has no fear in creating and handing it to somebody. There's no fear of that being rejected or that being bad or anything like that.
Or like, I should hold on to this. It's like, no, Dad, I drew you this thing, and you're like, thank you, and then you just make another one.
Absolutely.
But we're like, no, you can't have this. It's mine.
Exactly.
my creation. So kids are not afraid to share because they're not afraid of failure. Because it's not a failure because the process of doing it is the win. There's sort of a joy in that journey. It's not just about
absolutely.
They don't win design awards, They just draw pictures because it's fun. Because they're creative. So if you're listening to this today and you're like, man, I want to do X. I've always wanted to make videos, or I've always wanted to design things, or I've always wanted to be a musician. Just do it. Just try it. Put out one thing, right? If you're like, I'm going to put out a vlog every single day, but you've never done one, just make one. Just make one and then make another one and then make another one. Or if you want to write, a novel, but you've never written a blog post, write for 10 minutes every day. That's actually one of my goals this year is that I write for 10 minutes every day and I put it in a notebook that's private and in my Evernote account and no one ever reads it. But it helps me create. It helps me share my story. It helps kind of get those creative wheels turning, even though nobody's ever going to read that stuff. I'm not writing it for them. I'm writing it for me. And so if you're passionate about something, let's do that. And if you are a young person who is maybe interested in learning more and investing more and you want to serve in the church, we have internships in the summer. We have a residency program. We have several residents here right now. We have some in our creative department.
Absolutely.
And so if you're interested in those things, we would love to have a conversation with you about coming and being a part of Highlands Fellowship through an internship or residency, or if you just want to volunteer, we would love to pour into you and give you training and help so that you can tell your story, right? Because God's equipped you with something that nobody else has because it's you, and it's because it's me, and because it's JR. And so the better that we can share our lives with each other, I just think that's a win for everybody.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, well, thank you so much for watching this, for listening to this. I hope that this was encouraging to you. I hope that you walk away from this conversation maybe inspired, maybe like, yeah, you know what, I'm going to go do that one thing. Like, just put one foot in front of the other, take that next step. And if you have not liked and subscribed and all those words that you hear everybody say at the end of videos, you should totally do that so you can get these conversations each and every Wednesday delivered right to you. You don't even have to go find it. It'll just find you. And so thank you for watching this. If you have any suggestions, if you want us to talk about some stuff, just use the hashtag HFConversations or shoot us an email or a Facebook message, and we'll make it happen. So JR, thank you so much for being on.
Enjoyed it.
And yeah, we'll see you next week for another conversation.